Greetings everyone, 'tis I, 480 Volts, and welcome to another episode of 480 Reviews. Today we are going to be talking about the third game of the Mega Man X series, Mega Man X3. No special introduction, let's just jump right into it. By the time production of Mega Man X3 began, Keiji Inafune had transitioned from lead artist to director, producer, and writer. The game was released for the Super Nintendo in 1995 for Japan and in 1996 for North America and Europe. A report for the Sony PlayStation and the Sega Saturn, which featured updated music and anime-style cutscenes, was released in 1996 for Japan and Europe, but not for North America. The story takes place after the events of X2. A Reploid scientist named Dr. Doppler claims to have developed technology to prevent the Mavericks from going berserk. He calls forth any Reploids who have gone Maverick and promises to restore them to their original state. However, his true intentions are to use the Mavericks to build an army with which he intends to wipe out the humans and build a new utopia for Reploids. And by army, I mean 8 Mavericks, because as we all know in Mega Man games, 8 is the do or die number. Seriously, if you have 8 robots, you outnumber and outgun everything. Except a single Mega Man unit, I suppose. Anyway, X and his friend Zero set out to defeat the Mavericks and Dr. Doppler. Sensing that X could be a threat to his plans, Doppler recruits 3 Mavericks, 2 of which are named Bit and Byte, to intercept X and capture him. The third Maverick is later revealed to be Vile, who was apparently rebuilt by Doppler after the events of the first X game, and who now has a personal score to settle with X. X defeats the Mavericks, including Bit, Byte, and Vile, and stands before Dr. Doppler, who upon being defeated is revealed to have been infected with a computer virus. This virus is in fact the true form of Sigma, thus explaining his ability to return after being defeated. Doppler has apparently built a new robotic body to house the Sigma virus. X sets off to destroy the body once and for all. After being defeated, the Sigma virus attempts to infect X, but is stopped by either Doppler or Zero, depending on how you've played the game. Doppler's lab then implodes. X escapes, and as is the case with all X games, ponders the events and wonders how long this fighting must continue. However, this game's epilogue suggests that in order to restore peace to the world, X will have to one day destroy his friend Zero, thus raising more questions about the mysterious Red Reploid. As usual, the story isn't terribly groundbreaking, although I do like the return of Vile and the idea of Sigma being a computer virus. This game plays out pretty much like all of the previous X titles. If you've played a Mega Man X game before, you know what to expect. A quick intro stage to get you familiar with the controls and mechanics, then it's off to the select screen to take on the 8 Mavericks. As usual, you can do them in any order you prefer, and each time you kill one, X copies its weapon data onto his own programming to be used as a weakness for one of the other Mavericks. After all 8 Mavericks have been defeated, you can enter Doppler's lab, which is handled just like the final fortresses of the previous titles. Stage 3 has the teleport room where you refight the 8 Mavericks, and with the fight against Dr. Doppler, Stage 4 contains the final fights with Sigma. As usual, we have 8 heart tanks hidden across each of the Maverick stages, which permanently increases X's health bar, 4 sub-tanks which store extra health energy to be used at a later time, and the Dr. Light upgrades. X controls just like he did in X2, meaning that he already has the dash ability from the start, as well as being able to charge up his X Buster and wall jump, and the light upgrades provide him with the usual stuff. The arm upgrade allows X to charge up his Buster even further, as well as allowing him to charge up the special Maverick weapons. This time, a supercharged Buster shot only fires 2 small shots that kind of overlap each other in a sine wave. This doesn't seem like much, but if you fire a normal charge shot immediately after so that it hits the supercharged shot, it causes a massive energy spreader shot that is terrible to behold. The body upgrade buffs your armor, this time providing you with a temporary invincibility after you've taken a hit. The leg upgrade allows you to air dash, not just directly ahead of you, but also straight above you. And the helmet upgrade shows you a grid layout of the Maverick stage you've just entered, highlighting the locations of secret items. Also, while on the stage select screen, the helmet upgrade tells you what kind of secret items you can expect to find in the Maverick stage. Something new in this game are armor pods. There's one in a specific location in each stage, and standing on it allows X to interface with different mech armors. These mech armors can be acquired by finding special armored chips. These chips are hidden across 4 specific Maverick stages, although you have to find the Chimera armor first before you can use any of them. They each have different abilities or levels of mobility, and they allow you to reach certain areas that you wouldn't normally be able to access on foot. There are also 4 super secret enhancement chips left behind by Dr. Light. These chips require the use of special armors to reach. The arm chip converts the damage you take to energy to be filled in a special canister. Switching to this canister will allow you to fire supercharged shots without having to charge up your X-Buster. The energy chip allows you to refill your health bar and your sub-tanks by simply standing still and doing nothing. The leg chip allows you to air dash twice in a single jump. The body chip buffs your defense armor even more, allowing you to take more of a pounding. Here's the kicker. You can only install one of these chips. If you've installed one, none of the others will be available. And I know what you're thinking. 480, which one of these should I go for? Answer, none of them. That's right, nada, zilch, 0.0. Avoid these chips like they're the freaking COVID-19. In the very first Doppler stage, you can discover a secret area in which another Dr. Light capsule is hidden. This capsule gives you the gold chip, which is essentially all 4 enhancement chips at once. But this chip is not available if you have collected any of the other chips. And now let's talk about Bit and Byte. A cutscene shows these guys along with Vile being recruited by Dr. Doppler after you defeated your first 2 Mavericks. About midway through each Maverick stage is a mini boss chamber. After the cutscene in which these guys debut, there is a random chance that Bit will appear in this chamber and you will have to fight him. After you defeated him, in the next Maverick stage there is a random chance that Byte will appear in the chamber and you will have to fight him. These guys will not appear in a stage that you have already completed and are revisiting. Also, I don't know this for 100% certainty, but I do believe that the algorithms are set up in such a way that you will always encounter these guys before completing all 8 Maverick stages, and you can never miss them. If your final shot against Bit is the Frost Shield and Byte is the Tornado Fang, then you will never see these guys again. But if you defeat them with anything else, then they will both appear and merge together as one boss in the first Doppler stage. Otherwise, you will fight an entirely different boss in that stage. Now let's talk about Vile. In 3 particular Maverick stages, you can discover a hidden teleport pod which takes you to a special bonus stage in which you can face off against Vile. After you defeated Vile, the area around you begins to collapse due to a self-destruct sequence, a timer appears on the screen, and you must escape this area before it blows, not unlike the end of most Metroid games. Difference here is that Metroid belongs to Nintendo, and Nintendo thinks about the kids, while Mega Man X belongs to Capcom, and Capcom doesn't give a flying fire truck. In other words, you barely have just enough time to make it out of here alive, so get going! Unlike Bit and Byte, Vile is completely optional, or at least this form of him. Note that once you have beaten all 8 Mavericks, the Vile stage becomes inaccessible. Also, like Bit and Byte, if your final shot against Vile is either the Spinning Blade or the Ray Splasher, you will never see this guy again. If you use anything else, or just ignore the Vile stages altogether, this guy shows up as a boss in Doppler Stage 2. Now let's talk about Zero. Zero is actually semi-playable in this game. You first take control of him during a section of the intro stage until he rescues X from a Reploid gone Maverick. After that, he tells X to call him if he needs help. Well, believe it or not, at almost any point in almost any stage, you can go to the pause menu and switch to Zero for a while. You can only do this once per stage, however, and he always leaves before you come to a boss fight, with one exception, which I'll talk about later. As for controls, Zero can do all of the default tricks X comes with: run, jump, wall jump, dash, shoot pellets, and charge up his Zero Buster. The Zero Buster can actually be charged up to 3 levels, the first 2 which shoot out normally charged blaster shots, and a third of which is a close-range melee attack from Zero's Beam Saber, which is totally not, in no way, never, nothing not like a lightsaber. This beam saber, although limited by close range, is extremely devastating. Also, Zero comes with a fully extended health bar. He cannot use any of X's special weapons, of course. If you had defeated Vile during the Maverick stages with the Ray Splasher or Spinning Blade, Doppler Stage 3 will contain an extra mini-boss fight. Although you can fight this as X, it is the only boss you are allowed to fight as Zero. If you defeat it as Zero, it will attach itself to Zero and self-destruct, severely wounding Zero. Don't worry, he doesn't die this time around, but he does return to Dr. Kane's lab for repairs, but not before leaving you his Zero Saber. The Z-Saber in the hands of X will actually perform a long-range attack, making it even more effective and no less devastating. In terms of difficulty, this game is no cakewalk, especially at the beginning. A fully upgraded X, complete with the gold chip, is quite capable of handling most situations with ease, even without the Z-Saber at your side, but at the beginning, before you have any heart tanks or upgrades, this game is freaking brutal. Without the armor upgrade from Dr. Light, enemy fire takes a lot of health off of X. You're gonna get frustrated playing this game at first, I guarantee it. Once you start getting upgrades, things will look up. Just don't waste your sub-tanks, you will need them for the final boss, which is nothing to sneeze at. The graphics are basically the same as they were before, although these still portraits of X and Zero look surprisingly polished and solid and almost 3D. The music, composed by Kinuo Yamashita, is quite good. Maybe not as good as X1, but is still a huge improvement over X2's soundtrack. Overall, the soundtrack isn't as energetic and driving as X1, but it's still pretty hard rock most of the time. The production sounds great, with the kick and snare drum sounding really fat and full. The PlayStation port featured new arrangements of the same songs with updated instrument patches. I'm gonna be honest, I much prefer the original SNES soundtrack. The PS1 port just sounds too bland and underwhelming for me, and there's not enough rock to it. The only PS1 arrangement I actually prefer is the intro stage, which sounds much more alive and vibrant than the SNES version. In conclusion, this game is okay. It's definitely got more going for it than X2, especially with the ability to occasionally play as Zero. The difficulty curve is very taxing, but it becomes so satisfying in the end. And everything that made X1 and 2 what they are gameplay-wise still remains in this game. It just feels like it built more upon X1 than X2 did. Even so, it's not a game that I find myself ever itching to play. I really only play it if I'm doing an X marathon, if you will. Not the best, but definitely not the worst. Well, that was Mega Man X3, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the review. If you did, go eat a big tub of ice cream, and I will see you guys later. Pieces!